After a long and glorious rule, Emperor Kangxi had launched China into a golden age, the High Qing Era. Upon his death in 1722, Emperor Yongzheng inherited the throne, but would he live up to his father's expectations? The Kangxi Emperor had many children, counting over 30 sons. Born in 1678, future Emperor Yongzheng, named Yingzhen, was his 11th, although he was only the 4th prince to survive into adulthood. His mother was a court attendant of low rank, so he had little chance of ascending the throne, especially since Kangxi's second prince was chosen as a crown prince. Nonetheless, Kangxi chose to educate his sons, bringing them on imperial inspections around the capital of Beijing, where they would learn governance and administration. The emperor also showed his sons military leadership, as when he campaigned in 1696 against the Zhongga Mongols, Prince Yingzhen followed. He did not participate in the decisive battle of Zhaomoduo, but was appointed as honorary leader of the Plain Red Banner during the campaign, one of the 8 military divisions of the Manchu army. In his free time, Prince Yingzhen was very quiet and studious, indulging in studies of Chinese classics and Confucianism, as well as Buddhist literature. In the imperial court sessions, he actively took part in political debates, sharpening his mind and acquiring diplomatic skills. Gradually, the future emperor rose through the ranks, becoming a prince of second rank in 1698 and prince of first rank in 1709. The same year Kangxi stripped his second prince from the title of crown prince. Slowly, a possibility of ascending the throne appeared before him, though he tried to keep a low profile in the succession struggle that was just created. By the time Kangxi died in 1722, Yingzhen was already 44 years old. He was designated as a successor in unclear circumstances, possibly against his late father's true wish. Nonetheless, upon the reading of the late emperor's will that was possibly tampered with, it was Yingzhen who was selected to succeed.
皇四子胤禛，人品贵重，身消朕功，必能克成大统。国际传位于皇四子胤禛，钦此。
Prince Yingzhen officially became Emperor Yongzheng. He understood that his position was still unstable, and to strengthen it, the emperor tried to eliminate the power of his rivals, mainly his own brothers. Within 2 years, he had either elevated some to high positions to hold them under control, send them far away from the capital, or strip them of their titles. Another problem, however, arose. The 8 banners, military and nobility divisions, were distributed among royal and noble families. Originally, only one was under control of the emperor, but by the time of Yongzheng, 3 of them were in the hands of the ruler, designated as the 3 upper banners. But the other 5 were still controlled by princes and nobles, who technically had absolute authority over their respective members. In 17 of each set of 8 banners, Manchu, Han Chinese and Mongol, the emperor replaced leading personnel and stripped their leaders of many privileges. Therefore, Yongzheng had ousted political rival and secured his control over the Qing Dynasty. Concerning the military, Yongzheng preferred not to lead conquests, letting trusted officials lead the campaigns, much like his grandfather Shunzhi. When in 1723 the Hoshut Mongols rebelled against the Qing's authority in the region of Qinghai, the emperor appointed General Niang Gongyao to pacify the region. Within 1 year, the general had successfully crushed the rebellion and Qinghai was formally annexed into the empire. The same year in 1724, following the path of his father, who had forbidden Christian missions in the empire, Yongzheng issued a decree forbidding Christianity altogether. After some priests came to protest, he stated, "What would you say if we were to dispatch a group of bonzes and lamas to your country to preach their doctrines? How would they be received? Li Ma Dou came to China in the first year of the Wan Li reign. We will not discuss what the Chinese at the time did, we are not responsible for that. Then you were few in number, and it hardly mattered. You Christians did not have your people and churches in all provinces. It was only under the reign of my father that you began to build churches everywhere, and your doctrine started to spread rapidly. I observed this, but dared say nothing. You may have known how to deceive my father, but don't think you can deceive me in the same way." That being said, Jesuits working in scientific domains in the capital were still tolerated. Although the persecution of Christians would steadily increase in the decades that followed, Yongzheng was careful not to execute Chinese Christians to avoid creating martyrs, as it would reinforce the Christian communities. He nonetheless enforced strict monitoring of Christians, issuing a secret letter to provincial governors in 1729, scolding them for their negligence in surveilling. He reportedly lamented that although Christianity and missions had been banned for several years, there were still many missionaries living in the country, and local rogues who followed their teachings. A year after he had banned Christianity, in order to manage and have control over trade with the Europeans in Canton or Guangzhou, the emperor created a trade organization regrouping local Chinese merchants called Kohong or Gonghang. This organization would later be the bulk of the Canton system that would lead to the Opium Wars later in history. Also in 1725, Emperor Yongzheng decided to restore the Zhou family, reigning family during the previous Qing Dynasty, by creating a hereditary title for its head. Therefore, Zhou Zhilian became a marquis. This allowed many Ming loyalists to accept the Qing dynasty's authority and reinforced the good image of the Qing dynasty within the population. Political issues in the southwest were however far from resolve. In 1727, anti-Qing nobles from Lhasa murdered others who supported the dynasty. The Dzungar Mongols, ally of the anti-Qing Tibetans, jumped on the opportunity to support the political change. Fearing another rebellion, Yongzheng sent an army of a couple 100,000 men. Within a year, Tibet had been pacified, and the Qing court appointed 2 angbang, imperial residents acting as governors, to supervise Tibet. Angbangs would continue to be appointed in Tibet until the fall of the Qing dynasty in 1912. The Dzungars would remain a problem for the dynasty. Their new ambitious leader, Galdan Tsiren, immediately upon taking control of the Khanate, launched campaigns against the Kazakhs on one side and Khalkha Mongols, their long-term rivals, on the other. Since the Khalkha had become vassals of the Qing, Yongzheng had to defend them. He dispatched a force of 10,000 soldiers, who were however crushingly defeated by the Dzungars near Horton Lake. The Dzungars could however not advance further, as the Khalkha would successfully keep them at bay. Yongzheng proved to be a capable leader. He conducted many economic reforms that would prove very effective. In 10 years, the treasury would double from 30 to 60 million taels of silver. Furthermore, he kept a close eye on government officials, making corruption much harder to take place. He also forbade them to group themselves into cliques, therefore avoiding threats to the stability of the government. In 1729, the emperor officially banned opium for the first time in China. This, much like the establishment of the Canton system, would be a decisive step leading to the Opium Wars a little over a century later. To better administer military affairs, Yongzheng implemented the Grand Council in 1733. This organization eliminated the complicated, therefore somewhat inefficient, bureaucracy of previous councils. As the Qing dynasty would progress, the Grand Council would gradually become an essential part of the government, englobing many more functions. It would last until the penultimate year of Imperial China. Learning from his father's example of inspection tours, Emperor Yongzheng paid attention to the functioning and maintenance of irrigation systems and canals used for agriculture, which increased production. He often oversaw infrastructural works of that nature. On the occasional natural disaster, the emperor was quick to organize famine relief programs, as well as build orphanages and pauper houses for the victims. While he criticized and had banned Christianity, he was tolerant of all other religions. In 1732, Yongzheng converted his former personal quarters, where he had lived as a prince, into a Tibetan Buddhist temple, the Yonghe Lamasery. The signs were written in Manchu language, Chinese characters, Tibetan, and Mongolian. It still stands and serves as a temple today. This action was undoubtedly a political move to gain influence within the Tibetan Buddhists, as it is most likely that Yongzheng's personal faith leaned towards Chan Buddhism, much like his grandfather Shunzhi. In his quest of faith, and during the last years of the emperor's life, Yongzheng formed a circle of erudites to study Chan Buddhism. This group consisted of 5 princes, 5 Buddhist monks, 3 high officials, 1 Taoist priest, and the emperor himself. Out of their work, a collection of many writings were published, as well as the reprinting of old Buddhist works. Listening to the preaching of Taoist followers, Yongzheng allowed himself to be convinced in theories of longevity and immortality, achievable through rituals and potions. He gradually began drinking elixirs and taking pills of immortality in increasing quantity and concentration. These obviously served him no good. On the 8th of October 1735, while reading court documents, the emperor collapsed and died. It is believed he poisoned himself by overdosing on the Taoist potions, therefore becoming the last emperor in history to die in this fashion. In any case, Yongzheng's reign, that lasted only 13 years, was over. Of the 14 children the emperor had, only 5, 4 sons and 1 daughter, lived into adulthood. By the time the emperor died, only 3 sons remained. During his life, Yongzheng had seen the terrible crisis that succession disputes could create. For this reason, he had decided neither to continue with the Manchu custom of equal right succession, nor with his father's choice of designating an heir. Instead, he had devised a new system. He wrote the name of his chosen successor on 2 scrolls of paper. One of them would be sealed in a box placed behind the stele of the Palace of Heavenly Purity in the Forbidden City, and the other would be kept with him at all times. Upon his death, his scroll would be withdrawn and the other unsealed. Trusted officials would then compare both pieces, and if they were judged authentic, the new emperor would be revealed. This system, known as the secret designation of the Crown Prince, would keep going for the rest of Imperial China. In 1735, after Yongzheng's death, the scrolls were compared. The officials then announced that his 4th son, Prince Hongli, would ascend the throne as the Son of Heaven. He would become Emperor Qianlong. The rule of Yongzheng is often overlooked, as his father Kangxi and his son Qianlong accomplished many spectacular feats. Nonetheless, Yongzheng was a good ruler for the people. Under his rule, the finances of the empire skyrocketed, corruption was kept at bay, political power was centralized greatly in the hands of the emperor. Yongzheng, in an act of jealousy and perhaps paranoia, had also shown harshness and cruelty to many of his brothers and officials with severe punishments. In any case, the empire was prosperous as ever, paving the path for an even greater reign, that of his son Qianlong. Thank you for watching my video, I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions or requests, feel free to leave them in the comment section below.